Hello everybody, welcome to the 30k channel. I'm your host David and welcome to Setting the Scene. I think this is episode 31, so wow. Now, oh dear, today has been a very stressful morning for me. I'll explain why. I was thinking about what to film today and I was going to refilm the building of the Tiberian Spike. So a few months ago there was a battle report that featured this. Hopefully it's flashed up on your screen now. You can see it was, I don't know, to me it reminded me of a Tiberian Spike from Command & Conquer, the RTS game. Amazing game, played it my entire life, just an amazing series of games. Anyway, so I was going to film that for you today because I had some changes I want to make to it that I thought would be quite cool. Anyway, I had to go to the post office today to post out all of your templates that you've been purchasing from me. So thank you so much for that, those templates for Zone Mortalis. So I was on my way there and I thought to myself, well, actually, I quite fancy doing something else. And I thought, I wonder how I can recreate that. So if we cast our minds back to the episode where I filmed, I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh yeah, it was the Force perspective with the Mechanicum Tyros and the Thalax in front and the Knights behind it walking like a valley. And then I did another video with a green screen where I used the Nurgle Great and Clean One from Forge World and Word Bearers, Plague Bearers and stuff. So both those photos hopefully have flashed up if I found them in my library of photos. So I really wanted to make a similar scene, but building on those lessons that I learned in those two previous videos, because let's face it, I'm not a professional at doing this, by far from it, but with each board build and with each video I make, I do learn, genuinely I do learn something from it and think, well, it looked okay, but I probably could have done it a lot better. And I think this video is a continuation from that and is far from the final destination that we'll reach. But I thought it could be really cool. Could be, big caveat, could be really cool. So, one of my favourite movies is the Alien series. Some are better than others, without doubt. But in the third movie, Aliens 3, there's a really great scene where Ripley is on top of this gantry and Weyland has landed on this penal colony that, you know, because she's obviously killed a load of these aliens, and she discovered earlier on in the movie that there's a chest burster inside of her, right? So, you know, she's trying to avenge the aliens, kill them all, and then she, you know, at the end of the movie, there's the dilemma that she's left with this one inside of her, which, as we all know, if you've watched the movie, and I'm sure you have, you know, she's pursued onto this gantry above this smelting works. And Weyland is like trying to talk her down, oh, you know, come back, you know, we'll help you out sort of thing, because obviously they want the aliens, they've been pursuing the alien for the entire series. And then the final scene is her throwing herself off the gantry, the chest burster comes out, she grabs onto it, and then it incinerates into the big kind of smelting vat. And obviously in the next movie they've worked out how to clone her and she's like this superhuman thing and there's loads of aliens and the alien gets a face, which is so random. Anyway, I told you I waffle. So I want to recreate that scene. So what I've got in my head is that the Word Bearers have infiltrated a smelting works somewhere in some far-flung planet. It's manned and garrisoned by the Iron Hands, but the Iron Hands have foiled the Word Bearers' plans, and the model that's left is a Diabolist, this little badger here, Dan Porter, thank you very much for the loan of the model. And they've pursued him onto this massive gantry where there's these huge furnaces below, part of the smelting works, see the parallels there. But deep within the Diabolist is a demon. See, I'm trying to incorporate demons now. Is a demon deep within the Diabolist, and I guess their ultimate plan was to release this demon into the smelting works because maybe they made casings for bolters which would have hampered the Imperial's munitions and supply lines and all sorts of stuff. So, but the Iron Hands got there first, and what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and have a very similar setup like this. I appreciate this is really rough. So the Iron Hands have pursued the Diabolist to a gantry. They're about to gun him down, but what I'm going to try and portray is I'm going to try and portray the demon within the Word Bearer by form of a shadow on a high gantry, and below them are these smelting vats, right? So we're going to do a bit of forced perspective. Is it forced perspective? No, we're not going to do forced perspective. It is a little bit, and then we're going to do some editing in Final Cut. I appreciate Photoshop would be better, but I can't use Photoshop, well, for this application. So we're going to try and muddle our way through this, and this is not the definitive way to do this, and I can't really do this, but I'm just showing you the journey that this whole experiment has taken me on. And then maybe in a year's time, after I've done a load of these, I know what I'm doing, and I might be able to produce something decent. We'll find out. So there's lots of layers, just like Shrek. Shrek has got lots of layers. He's like an onion. You can tell what I've been watching over Christmas, right? So I'm going to take a series of photos, and then I'm going to overlay all of those photos in Final Cut, which I find really easy to use. Ooh, so fingers crossed it works. So we shall begin. I'm sorry for the really long explanation. So first of all, these are going to be my vats, okay? And I've got 6, but what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to take a photo with a green screen, and then I'm going to multiply them, or duplicate them rather, in Final Cut, so it's like this massive vat of stuff. But obviously they're hollow, so what I've done is I've cut a 9.2mm piece of green fabric, which I cut on my Cricut, and the video for that is just here. Right, so now we've used a £300 machine to cut a 9.2cm disc of fabric. It's like the biggest overkill in the world. However, that machine does cut the templates, and it will come in handy way further down the line. But it just goes to show that if I had to cut that from hand, it'll be a bit fiddly, it'll take ages, and it literally took 10 minutes to cut all of these, and it's accurate and it worked perfect every time. So it's a good investment. So that just fits beautifully in the top there. And I do have a top-down camera because that's where all of the photos will be taken. Because we're going to do a top-down Tuesday. All right. So we've got 6 of these badges. And a couple of them on one side do have this kind of port. So I'm just going to pop them together where I can. They won't all go together, but could at least have some sort of lines of symmetry. It's a good Muse album there for those who are fans. Okay. All right, so one of the first failures I've done already is I haven't found the middle of my top-down camera. So on my top-down camera, I've got a grid. I'm just going to mark a little point with a pen. You won't be able to see it, but I'll be able to see it. Okay, that's fine. So we'll build these around that mark as best as I can. If this works out how I think it's going to work out, I think it will be really cool. Maybe. Okay, let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's pretty bang on that, to be fair. And if we remember the video we filmed for the Adeptus Titanicus one with the Mechanicum in the foreground, you know, stuff was in shot, stuff was in focus and stuff wasn't in focus. But with this, all of it's going to be in focus, but then I will blur it in post-production, because obviously if the gantry is up here with the word bearers and the iron hands, you know, below it is going to be this massive vat of stuff. And they will be out of focus because of just the nature of how eyesight and camera lenses work and stuff. I did also consider, I can't remember the name of the movie, it was the Harlequin movie, I think, where the Joker and Harlequin, it's the origin story of how Joker became Joker in the new iteration of it. So there's obviously these vats of acid below, and there's a balcony, or a gantry across the top rather, and then Harlequin and Joker on top, and they fall in and they become as crazy as they are. So I had considered doing a big gantry. That would have been really cool, but I think with the idea I've got, it just allows me to get a few more models in shot, and obviously I can get a crate in shot, which is really important, of course. And I think it'll work out. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear this out a little bit. We're only going to focus on this. So in the photo, I'll crop it. So if there's stuff out in the periphery, it doesn't really matter. I've got my little remote control, so I'll take a photo. Okay, that's done. I'm going to take another one just to make sure. So there's my photos done there. That's good. They are finished with all that work for a photo. I did consider putting some gantries and some various other bits and bobs around there just to make it a bit more believable and stuff, but because they'll be so far down in the shot and our main focus will be on the gantry with the models, you're literally only going to see 2.5 of these vats. Well, they're not vats, are they? They're smelting works, whatever the technical term for a smelting work thing is. So we're not too worried about making it look realistic because it will not be the focus of the photo. So next, we've got these amazing tiles. I've talked about these before. They are background tiles for aquariums, and essentially you build your aquarium, stick them up, put 2 or 3 together, and you've got a backdrop. I use them as terrain, and once you put salt for snow or the different coloured aggregates on top, bury the detail a little bit, they look fantastic. So what I want to try and get across here is that way up above the smelting works, there's, I don't know, a little landing pad where an Arvis would come in and drop some stuff off. And if I had my Arvis painted, I would have used it, but I haven't got it painted. It's still in sub-assemblies to be painted. I would have used that because that would have looked really cool, but it would have been a bit crowded, so we are where we are. Now there's a lip on this. We don't want to get this lip in shot. So I'm going to use this one because it's a little bit janky, I guess is the word. And it's probably a bit too straight for my liking, but again, the shot will not focus on that. Okay, let's get this into position. I have mocked this up already, so I know it kind of works. It's not 100%. All right, so I'm just lining that up in my camera so you can see the top-down shot there. So you can see it's bang on in the middle of the screen. This is good. Okay, so we're going to use this landing pad. I do love it very much. I'm going to probably use it there. So I need it to lay fairly flat, and I found I just needed to bulk it out with some spacers. So that's pretty flat now. Do you know what? I'm going to move that forward so this is the center of my shot like before. Yeah, it's pretty much bang on. So we're just going to extend the reach of that a little bit, just so we can get some of the detail in the bottom. It's not quite working. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate that. Again, the edges is a little bit straighter than I wanted, but we can only do what we can do. I will try and soften those edges in Final Cut, but again, editing photos is not my strong suit. Okay, that's not too bad. And then just as a bit of a lead up, we're going to have a couple of these as a ramp. Yeah, that'll do. Just going to push it forward a little bit. There we go, that's much better. Okay, I appreciate there's a massive gap there, but I'm going to stick a contemptor on it, so it'll be fine. So we can hide a lot of the mistakes and really rapidly put this together, because I could build a purpose-built scene, and the problem with that is we could probably use it later on in different other stuff, but because of the way it's being built, it'd be a massive project just for a 40-minute video, and then you've got either, and then obviously because I'm moving, I've got to ship it, and I just think it'll get damaged and broken, and it just won't be worth it. So, so that's why I'm building it this way. Okay, cool. Right, we've got it there. Good. We're going to put our friend the crate in. I'll put it here because if I put it there, you won't be able to see from the front camera very well. That looks kind of cool. I want my contemptor up front because, you know, the potential for the damage that this word bearer is going to reap on these iron hands is quite high, particularly with that potential building up within him. So So that's kind of cool. Yes, so the word bearer, we're going to put, he's the man of the moment. So he's kind of like saying, stop, I'll hold you back with some etheric winds or something or other. I've got some crates here and some pallets, my favourite pieces of terrain. So we're just going to dress them a little bit, just to make it look like it's a proper landing bay. One over here. That's the problem with cylinders, they want to go for a walk. I've got a couple more bits in here. I've got a escape hatch doodah, which I'm going to cover with that. That looks pretty cool. I've got a vent, exhaust vent, which doesn't quite work, so we can leave it out, that's fine. I've got a few more barrels and bits and bobs here. I do want to make some fixed barrels and stuff like this, because building them for each game is a pain, I'm not going to lie. Actually, we want him in the middle. And what I want to do is, the demon is going to sit here. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a separate photo from the front of the demon, and then I will silhouette that, and then I will put that as a shadow at the back of the word bearer, exposed onto the gantry here. And that kind of just shows that, you know, within that Diabolus there's the potential of a demon to burst forth, which I kind of like the feel of. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to move all my bits and bobs out of the way. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to get some other models in here. So we've got Ortec Moore, or he's just an Iron Father in this case. I don't want to overcrowd the scene too much, so just a hint of a wall of breaches would be quite nice, just with the Volkites. Yep, just Volkites. So they've come up on the gantry. I'm going to leave Ortec Moore out, actually. I'm going to make it like they've pushed the Contemptor forward, and they've got Ortec Moore in there. Yeah, I kind of like the look of that. I'm going to zoom in ever so slightly, just so the detail's a bit clearer. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay. Alright, well that's pretty much all my photos done. I'm just going to take a photo of that. Photo. Took 3 of them just in case. Perfect. And that's me done. Fingers crossed this works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all of those photos, including the one of the demon. I'll do that off camera. I'll take them and I'll go down to my computer and I will film the entire process. I'll speed the entire thing up and I'll talk over the top of it and kind of go from there. Then I'll come back to you with the final photo. I think what I will do as well, I would really love a light projecting out from the Contemptor that kind of hits the word bearer, and that's what creates the shadow to reveal the demon within. So I don't know how to add effects in Final Cut. I'm pretty sure you can buy add-ons or plugins, but I just haven't explored that route. So what I'll do is what I might do is, once I finish my photo and I'm happy with it, I'll put it into an app called Lens Effects, which probably a lot of you have. I'll put the effects in there, and then I'll export it, I'll send it back to my computer, and then that's the image that will show up on the end. And then I appreciate that is probably the wrong way of doing it and the really long-winded way of doing things, but I don't know any other way right now. So as my knowledge increases, I'll know more and I'll be able to do it in Final Cut or Photoshop, which I think Photoshop is probably the best place to do it, but I don't know how to use it. So I know this is not a definitive way of doing it, but just bear with me because I think the results will be pretty good. And for something I thought of 9 o'clock this morning, I think it'll be all right. Well, there it is. I wouldn't call it a success. I don't think it's very good, if I'm honest. I think the idea about using these VATs, I think was great, but in reality, I couldn't carry it off. It's a bit of a shame, really, because I think it would have worked. I think, in all honesty, I think I am going to do this again, but instead of all the post-production stuff, I'm just going to take a photo like I did before, with the Trias Sama conveyor in the front and the stuff at the back and being autofocus. Didn't quite get the results that I wanted. I will have a go, but I probably won't film it. I don't know, I need to think about that. But I had a go. And I think, you know, in the spirit of this hobby and just trying stuff, I think you've just got to, you know, if you don't know how to paint a Space Marine, or if you don't know how to do a particular effect, you know, you can research, we've talked about that. But the best answer is to just give it a try. And I think the photo in itself, I mean, the photo tells a good story, I think. Whether I made the photo tell that story, I'm not too sure, but I think the idea behind it is really good. And maybe we can use that later on for a Zone Mortalis type mission thing. That's another time for another day. You know, I hope you've got something from this video. I've learnt loads. I've learnt that I'm a little bit out of my depth when it concerns this sort of thing. But I think the more I do it, the more I will get better, as I spoke earlier about that as well. Really interesting exercise. As I said, I hope you've got something from it. I'm not sure what, but hopefully something. Don't worry, next week we will return to normal. I think next week we're going to do a casting video. I talked about that. Or mentioned it on the Instagram. So I think we'll do a casting video, which will be quite interesting. Hopefully I can take you through the casting process, or at least how I do it, and hopefully you can get something from that as well. And then maybe we'll go on to just filming normal board builds. Although there might be a battle report coming soon. I'm working on the rules and regulations that govern people meeting up and paid work and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to work that out at the moment. We might have a battle report for you soon, so hold tight. That's it from me. I will leave this photo up for 2 or 3 minutes at the end so you can look at it in its full glory, or its attempted full glory. And I will see you in the next episode of Setting the Scene.